Hi, I'm Don Dunbar, the Adjutant General for the state of Wisconsin. This video has been put together for your benefit. We all know the Army values. We live the Army values and the National Guard's values. It means doing the right thing all the time for the right reasons, even when nobody's looking. This video is based on an event that happened that was tragic. It was a result of some bad decisions and ended up costing an innocent civilian her life. The person, the former guardsman, consented to do this video because he wanted you to learn from his mistake. I want you to learn from his mistake. There is no place in our organization for this type of bad judgment. Please watch it. Please internalize it. Please learn from it. Every one of you is important in the United States Army and in the Wisconsin Army National Guard. We can't stand or afford to lose even one of you, and we darn sure can't afford to lose you to a bad decision.
Many of you have probably never stepped foot in a prison. In fact, as a National Guardsman, it's freedom you fight to protect. I just met a soldier inside who probably isn't that much different than you. He had a promising military career ahead of him, a loving family, and lots of friends. So, how did he end up here? Specialist Jesse Rugsager made a fatal decision to drink and drive after a night out with fellow soldiers in March 2009. After blacking out behind the wheel, his truck slammed into 21-year-old Jennifer Jastro's car, killing her instantly.
And that was the worst feeling. I woke up in the hospital with a cop next to me. And when he had told me I had killed someone, I just couldn't believe it. It was such a shock. And when he told me what happened, actually, that was the moment I think I knew I wanted to die. I just knew I couldn't live with killing someone who was innocent. You know, I knew nothing about that person at the time, but now I know. She was just coming home late at night. She didn't do anything wrong. I let my selfish tendencies take her away from everything and take her away from everybody.
I was crushed. I didn't know what to think. I was told of Jenny's death, and I didn't want to believe it at first. But with the help of God, I was able to get through it. And now it's been a little over 3 years. I think about her all the time. I miss her.
Are your lives forever changed?
Yes, lives are
Absolutely.
definitely changed. Jenny and I were not real close. Not only will I never be able to reconcile with her, but I won't be able to see her walk down the aisle. I won't be able to see her be a mom. All that stuff was taken from me. And that hurts. That hurts.
Jesse was sentenced to 8 years in prison. His military career and life as he knew it was over.
Jesse's story ends up with the loss of an innocent civilian's life, and that's tragic. But there are probably scores or hundreds of other folks who have engaged in the same behavior, and just fortunately no one was there that night when they ran a stop sign. No police officer stopped them. But it doesn't take away the fact that the lack of judgment in consuming so much alcohol that you've lost your ability to control a vehicle or to be rational. The seed's the same. I want to be careful. I'm not suggesting that every individual needs to be perfect or a saint or not have an alcoholic beverage if they want to have an alcoholic beverage. What we're talking about is being excessive, abusive behavior.
Wisconsin is known for having a drinking culture, but sometimes that culture can be a barrier to accountability.
We have an obligation to live up to the standard that we've set for ourselves. We have core values, we believe in them, and you have to live those values all the time, not just when you're in a combat zone, not just when you're on duty, but especially in the National Guard where we're not full-time all the time. There's never a time when you're not a National Guardsman. And if you get past a certain point, you need to have a plan. And that's what soldiers do best. We have plans for everything. So what's my plan? I got a battle buddy, I'm going to give my keys to that battle buddy. Or I'm not going to even bring my keys that night. I'm not going to drive that night. So now if you let your hair down, you have maybe a few drinks more than you planned to have, you've got a plan to get home, someone's taking care of you.
Tragically, Jesse did give his keys to a comrade that night, but later he got them back. Another soldier with the group knew Jesse was too drunk to drive.
I had gotten a bad feeling, but I didn't feel it was my place to speak up because there were sergeants there and I was an E3. Brand new to the unit, this is somebody that they knew.
Specialist Patterson was told it was being handled by higher-ranking soldiers, so he went home. He learned about the tragedy the next morning.
We ended up being told that Rick Sager had gotten into an accident with an 18 or 21-year-old girl, and that she had died. I was in shock. I felt I could have helped to save someone's life that night if I had just gotten in his face and told him he wasn't driving.
How would you do it differently if you had to go back and do it again?
Take his keys away, and if I had to, I'd throw him in a river. And as worst came to worst, I called the cops on him myself.
The Wisconsin National Guard wants you to be vigilant to help prevent another tragedy. Although it's ultimately the individual's responsibility, here are a few bystander intervention strategies. First, confront the person directly, but if that doesn't work, don't give up. Try strengthening your efforts by gathering other soldiers to multiply your force. And finally, try deflecting the situation by taking the focus off the impaired thinker.
Having that scenario where that person that you're trying to intervene with and get out of a situation doesn't feel personally attacked. You're not calling them out on anything. You're just trying to remove them from the situation.
First and foremost, we constantly talk about taking care of each other. We constantly talk about being a battle buddy, being responsible for not only your own personal actions, but those actions of somebody else that you work with on a daily basis, your battle buddy. And you never, ever put them or yourself in a situation where they could either harm themselves or put at risk another person. So I implore our service members to do that 24/7. Only I ask them to expand the term battle buddy, so that it's not just that one single individual soldier or airman that they're responsible for. If it's another person that's in uniform, they're responsible for them.
What would you say to other soldiers who are watching? What would you say to these people who think it isn't going to happen to them?
Because I said it.
That's right. Jesse said it too. In fact, he says the worst part about this situation is that he repeated a friend's mistake.
It was a female. She had a boyfriend, and I offered her she could stay with me, but we had a little bit of a history. Nothing major, but she said she didn't trust herself enough to stay with me. So she wanted to drive, and I couldn't stop her, and someone else said, just let her go, she's fine. And I did.
His friend had a drunk driving accident, killing someone that night.
I think about her a lot. And I knew someone who had done it, and then I went ahead and did it. That's the worst part about it, you know. It's you think it's uncommon. I've done it. I know someone else who has done it. I deserve what I get. I really do. the hardest part about doing it is I've repeated someone else's mistake, and it's going to happen. I guarantee you someone's going to get in an accident who watches this video, and that's the sad part about it.
I have a best friend that's in prison right now because he decided to drink and drive and kill somebody. It was a horrible decision, a bad mistake, horrible accident, but it happened. And it can happen to you, it can happen to anybody.
In addition to boot camp training, all soldiers are now receiving resiliency training, giving them tools to bounce back from deployment or any other life stressor, rather than turning to drugs, alcohol, or other substances that can impair their thinking. It also helps to identify problems before it's too late.
When you wear a uniform, you tend to think of yourself as able to handle anything, and so you're not one to reach out for help. So usually you'll find a guardsman or a soldier reluctant to say to a first sergeant, hey, I need help on this particular issue. And that, again, hopefully through this training, they'll learn that there's no shame in asking for help.
There is a wide variety of services that are available to them through the VA. But if there are issues that relate to overconsumption of alcohol, to mental health issues, we will find them help, and they can contact their commander, they can contact me directly, they can contact our medical unit, or when they go through a soldier readiness process, they can confidentially talk to whoever is doing their review and say, look, I really have an issue here, I need help.
The soldiers that we have in the Wisconsin National Guard are some of the finest Americans I've ever met. And for them to look back and reflect on Jesse's experience, Jesse's not a bad person. Jesse's not a bad soldier. He had a moment or a series of moments where his thinking was impaired, and he did something that he will pay for the rest of his life.
The people of Wisconsin expect more from their National Guard. It's your call of duty to live up to a higher standard.
It really hurts everybody when somebody does something outside of the military, because it comes back to the military, and they kind of look at us as like, why didn't you instill those all those things you talk about in this one individual? And the answer is we do, but yet the individual still has to take personal responsibility for their actions.
The bottom line here is a young life was taken, but there were literally dozens of people affected by a series of bad decisions. So please take note and don't let this become your reality.